Okay, so we have everything we need on our end here. Good morning, happy Thursday, good afternoon for the East Coast. Happy Thursday. I am Ashley Rhoda. This is Ronii Bartles. We are your brand strategist and business strategist. And if you're able to join us live, we really want to communicate more with you. So say hello in the comments. If you're watching this back on the replay, then say hello in the comments. Ask us questions, engage with us as we're discussing these things. We want you to know that this is an open platform for you as well. So as we kind of come to the table with topics that we've been handling throughout the week, let's say, or conscious to throughout the week. We want to bring those to you, but also we have the opportunity for hot seats. If you really are like, I would love to know what these two women would tell me and how they would encourage me in my business or this thing I'm struggling with or this question I have, we have hot seats. So we always leave the link in the description to every call and video that we do. And we want you to know that that's literally a free opportunity for you to sit with us for about 20 minutes on a call and allow us into your business and brand so that we can support you. Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's just always nice to get other people's perspectives too on these conversations. Like, this is the point, conversations and connections.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love
Common
that.
theme.
Yeah, it is our theme. And it's funny because while we intended it to be, very unfiltered and all these things, it really does always come back to that. And I think there's maybe more awareness and consciousness we all need to have in business for what are those core themes that we always circle back to. You might have a guru that says it's this, or you might have somebody that says that, but really always comes back to these things.
Exactly. Well, and the core of even what those gurus talk about is the same theme too.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Talk about it in probably a different light, but at the core of it, it's still the same thing.
100%. Yeah. So that kind of brings us into a platform. So I have something that came up this week and it sounds like you do too, but I'm going to start because as we just discussed, it kind of leads into the next part here. But I'm in a beautiful community, supportive business coaching community, if you will. And our guru suggested that it's really important as you're building up a business or scaling up a business to pick one platform, get as good as you can on that platform, and then branch out to all of them. Now, I know in the market, I've heard this, that, you need to be on LinkedIn because those are the professionals. You need to be on Instagram for the creatives, and then friends and family on Facebook. So I know I've kind of wobbled on this theory because sometimes I want to be everywhere. Sometimes I enjoy certain platforms over other platforms, but something really, I don't know if it's where I am in my business journey or like evolution, but something really just was calming about thinking of one platform and just getting really good at it. So I guess my first question for you for today's Mimosa Hotline is, what's your take on that? How do you feel about one versus many?
I have always been the believer as well in saying, pick your platform, get really good at it, see what works, see what doesn't, double down on what works, get rid of what doesn't, and then move to the next platform to do the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
So basically the same concept of master one thing first.
Yeah.
And then
how would you encourage people to pick their first platform? Let's start with the newbies that have never picked one, and then also the more advanced people, how do they narrow it down?
I think it's two things, actually, is what I tell a lot of people when it comes to like my clients, and I'm consulting on this. I say, number one, you have to go back to your ICA, your ideal client avatar. Who's your customer? Which platform are they on? But while that is extremely important because you want to be where they are, it's also very important to be on a platform you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy the platform, you're not going to be there and there's no point.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially like looking at the content creation of all the options we have today. For example, like I personally still believe now, maybe I'm dead wrong here. I think it's easier to go live on Facebook than I do necessarily on Instagram, for example. I do know isn't there a thing on LinkedIn that you can do lives or video at this point too?
There was. I think it's still there. I think it's still there, but I've never used it, so I don't really know.
Yeah. And then if you're a TikToker and you want to do all of that video editing and you enjoy all of that, and that's a great spot for you, that's going to be the platform. So thinking of that too, as you're making the decision. So if I heard you right, first we have to think about our clients, because the end goal is where are they at?
Right.
Then I guess not compromise, but identify what you're willing to do on the platforms that they might most likely be on, and then go from there. You know, what we just talked about was a perfect point to my next question of, you know, how do we stay informed on any of the platforms? Is there a forum that you hang out in? Is there like a newsletter you sign up to? Like, let's say you decide Facebook is the one. Where do you get updates on that? Or like we just said, does LinkedIn still offer live video? Like how would you encourage people to stay informed on all platforms?
Well, I think too, like if it's a platform you like and you're on it, you're going to kind of know what's going on, you know, sort of. I tend to, because granted, I'm in marketing and like this is sort of my job, but there are a few like blogs and like newsletters that I do actually subscribe to. So I do in the mornings, just for basic news and business news, Morning Brew, and I get it every morning. And it is a newsletter I read every morning from top to bottom. It's probably the only one I read from top to bottom. But they also have they have a bunch of sub newsletters, but they also have one called Marketing Brew, which is specifically for marketing stuff. So I do subscribe to that. They also have one that comes once a week that is specifically on social media. And so those are kind of my top things. The other places I do get a lot of information from is the like scheduling platforms. So like Later and Planoly and like Hootsuite, all of those guys actually have really great blogs that talk about different changes too. So those are always, and that's the nice thing about going to a newsletter is they kind of already comb all of those for you and kind of give you the best of what's already out there. Absolutely. Which is why I like the Marketing Brew stuff, is because it kind of pulls from a lot of different places. So those are kind of my top spots to like really keep up to date. But it changes so fast. Like,
just got to pick something and make it work for a while. How long is your testing period, would you say? Would you be like, you know, when you're testing something, give it at least 90 days? Is this a 30-day, 5-day? What would you say?
I think so. Marketing, this is always something that is a little bit on my pet peeve list of people think that marketing is your quick win answer to making $1 million. Like, you throw up a post or an ad and within a week you're a millionaire. A lot of people, particularly in the social media realm of marketing, think that marketing is going to be really fast. All I need to do is market better for a week and my launch will be a 6-figure launch. When in actuality, marketing really is a long-term game. My example of this is my client that's a e-commerce client. I'm very fortunate in that he has been a big advocate for marketing and spending money on marketing. So from day one, he's always set aside budget specifically for marketing, knowing it was a long-term game. And I will say it took us solidly 3 years to gain momentum in marketing. But then once it did, it was like a hockey stick. Like as soon as that momentum hit, it was exponential then and like shot through the roof as far as like brand recognition and people like really seeing it. But it was a long time before we even got to that point. So, you know, I realized that that's kind of scary and you're like, shit, 3 years. But
you're doing your business. This is
right. That like,
you're doing.
Right. It's not like, I mean, if you have a hobby, then you have a hobby, not a business. But I will say, like, if you're doing, say, social media and you're looking for some quick wins, 90 days is really my minimum of things. I have run ads that are like 2-week ads for special events and stuff like that, but like that's a different situation. But for really to try and gain traction and momentum, you need time. Like you need some people they're so bombarded with information from all over the place that it used to be that psychologically, we had to interact with businesses and brands and people 7 times before we actually remembered them. And the latest study in the marketing realm now shows that it's 20 times before they actually remember you. So if you think about that, like 20 touch points can't happen in a week and people actually still remember you top of mind, right? So you really do have to give it some time to build the momentum of marketing, and it gets really boring.
Well, and I think another thing that you're saying too, like, you know, could be distilled down into, instead of just thinking time, thinking consistency.
Right.
I think time can be like a turn off in a way,
Relative,
like you don't want to give off the time. But if you think just posting a day or posting, you know, so many times, that's where we're talking about a lot of our core nuggets always come back to connections and conversations.
Yeah.
I think consistency is another one that it just always comes back to consistency. You know, like if you change that you're with this MLM and then that MLM and then this thing and that thing, and like people don't know how to recognize you, but if they know for years that you're this thing, they can start associating with that and understanding that and looking for it too. So yeah, it definitely takes time. Yeah, like nobody wants to go to a doctor that just opened up practice. Like they want to go to somebody that's been in business for a while. So, and long-term end game too. So that's helpful. I like to how we were saying it's not just one, you can't just do social media to run a business. So I'm curious, you know, one of the things that we were also talking about is audience building and lead building and the difference between the two. So like audiences, who are you talking to? If you're talking to the same 10 people, you're exhausting them, and maybe you get one of those to convert, but you have to be constantly growing your audience. And so while we were speaking more on the leads and like converting the audience, that one person that shows interest and how to convert that, I was really curious if you would talk a little bit about audience building, because I think a lot of people, the reason I'm also thinking about this is I'm about to step into a whole new city, which is an audience builder for me. And that's like strategic on my platform. But what if, you know, sorry to anyone that this totally relates to, but you're in the same rut, you're in the same people, you're doing the same things. How can we like freshen up our connections and our audience? Any to that?
So interestingly enough, I read an article just this week. It was in one of my newsletters that I got, and it was very, it caught my attention because obviously the new trend is TikTok, right? And Instagram has come out with their whole like, we're going to be a video platform now instead of photo sharing, and this whole big backlash with the Kardashians and all kinds of stuff, right? So that's been like a hot topic. And it was an article about, you know, if you're doing, because Instagram has made this announcement and you're doing Instagram Reels, you might as well be on TikTok too, because you just recycle the same content, right? Like they're basically the same platform at this point. But what I found interesting in the article that I wanted to kind of point out and talking about audience is that with Instagram, their algorithm is, and their platform is based on you getting followers, you building an audience. Whereas on TikTok, it doesn't matter how many people follow you. Like that's not how their algorithm works. So the algorithms are, while the platforms and the content are very much the same, how their algorithm works is very different. So where our strategy on Instagram is to get more people to follow us and build our audience, the strategy on TikTok is just good content, because there is no purpose of people following you, right? Like that's not how their algorithm works. They're just based on like, if you like something, the algorithm's going to show it to you. So that's why it's more viral in nature. So it's a very different strategy on how you build that audience. As well, you know, the factors of like who's there, you know, who's on the platform, who's using it, all that kind of fun stuff. But as far as building audience, you're always wanting to build an audience because you gotta get cold audience to turn them into warm audience. So good example of this is I ran Facebook ads for my e-commerce client, and I would run a cold traffic ad, which is basically brand building cold traffic, just get them to the site. And then a retarget ad, which is once they land on the site, then they get retargeted later on Google and Facebook with the product that they looked at. Well, So I'm like looking at my analytics one month and I'm like, you know what? My retargeting is working so well. It converts so much better. I'm going to push all my budget to retargeting. So I did. And like 2 weeks later, like everything tanked. And I'm like, shit, what the fuck just happened? But then I realized retargeting doesn't work if you're not building cold audience. You have to drive cold audience to make them warm audience for even the retargeting to work. So that's why audience building is so important, of reaching out to the cold people to try and get them engaged, to then become a warm audience, because that's then when you can get them onto your email list, which, we all have our own opinions on platforms we like, but email is what you own.
Yes.
You don't own your Instagram audience. You don't own your Facebook audience. You do own your email list. And they always say that's where the money is. Your gold is in your email list, because now you've got a warm audience that has elected to hear from you. And now you can convert from there. So really, all of these social platforms are just cold audience to push them to your email list, which is warm audience to then convert.
Yeah, I love how you break it down into the cold and the warm, because I think people sometimes get into this, I help everyone kind of mindset. And also the difference between cold and warm, that not everybody wants to hear your pitch, let alone when we go back to our connections and conversations comments and kind of core nugget that we always go back to, is that I like to say too, it's kind of like dating. You don't want to walk into a room or a bar and be like, marry me. You got to be like, hey, my name's Ashley. Like we should go out, or so, like you got to build that relationship there. Cold marketing too. A lot of people are going to say like, is the only thing I can do paid ad? What if I don't have a budget for that? So I like to encourage people to network, networking either at events or just out in your life, make connections with the business owners you're going into, the storefronts you're going into, make connections with other people. So networking, in your social world, but also at groups and things. What are some other ways of paid ads? That's a way, but like, what are other ways to get cold markets? Because I don't know, maybe I'm on like a pet peeve or something, but I'm thinking of the people that have routine in their life, and how, it's just like drive a new way home, or like, how do we get to those cold markets when maybe we're so routine in what we've been doing?
You be social.
Okay.
I mean, that's why it's called social media.
No way, really?
I mean, and this is one of those moments where I go do as a say, not as a do, because I'm such the introvert and I find this very awkward myself, but you literally have to go be social. Even whether it's in person and going to networking events, you still have to do that even online as well. Like groups are a really great spot to do that in like specific communities.
And show your expertise. Maybe people are asking about the thing that you help with, and reply back, start the connection, be like, hey, it was really nice connecting with you on that post, or hey, we should have a conversation.
Exactly.
So
I mean, and Facebook actually has done really well with groups, to be honest. Like of all of the things on Facebook that probably is the most useful are groups. I know that we can get into the whole argument between any one of the platforms, but if you really sit down and look at each one, what each one does really well, Facebook has done really well with groups. And they've done well with that and being able to really garner community in those and give us tools within those groups to really help with engagement. So that is one thing that I think Facebook's really good for, is finding those groups to network in, socially in the social media world. Instagram has not, that's not their thing. You don't do that. Like,
well, actually, I guess they'd be dropping into the DM, which I never even fully grasped, except for like,
that's a message. It's not really a group. So they don't really kind of do groups. LinkedIn also does groups. And I've always heard good things about LinkedIn groups as well. They tend to be very active. But what happens there is when you're looking at your main feed on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of them, you're just scrolling and you're scrolling through everything, right? Whereas when you're in a group and you've elected to be in a group that is a specific topic,
Yeah.
now you're really kind of like narrowing that funnel into information and people that you want to be in and with. So it's easier to discern who you need to know and talk to, as opposed to just being like, here's everybody.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah. I wonder if it's just important to go back when we say this ideal client avatar, ICA, or however you want to call it, your dream client, like what people call it, whatever, anything.
Yeah, anything,
It
whatever
is
you want to call it.
so important that it's not a fictional character, a make-believe character, that where this person would be. Where do they hang out? One of the things I often giggle about is that mine is often at a happy hour. They're not necessarily looking for me, but when it comes up that they want me, they were talking to someone they've currently hired to help with something. And now they've realized they need branding. And we kind of had that this week as well, because you shared a beautiful referral with me. But it's like, they're not on social media searching for how to build their brand. Like they probably have very profitable businesses. They're running them, they're doing things. So I need to be there for now. After we've had this conversation with said person, they're probably going to go and look at what I've been doing just to see that I'm the human that I show up as, So sometimes you need to also remember that referrals are an option. Like you said, your networking, your social media, your referrals, like those, I'm going to out myself right now. I just messed up. Excuse me. Social media, newsletters, I said networking, newsletters, and referrals are my 3 lead gen strategies of how I connect and outreach with people. And it was just interesting because I don't know, what am I now, 7, 8 years in business? And it's still a good reminder to sit down and look at and assess the strategies you're using. One thing I've decided is I'm going to make my bi-monthly email list weekly. Okay, that's something I can do. And just those little tweaks that you said, sometimes you put all of your marketing budget into one thing and it tanks, and then you go back and realize, no, this was just the perfect thing. And when it tanks, you have to see that not as, let's say, maybe a failure, not to use a big F word for us, but as like refining, like you're just refining and honing and making it even better every time that you do these little adjustments. So don't be afraid of it, like not working or getting crickets or something. Then you just know, okay, too far to the left, too far to the right. Like, what do I need to do? Yeah, it's interesting because I have a pretty good open rate on my newsletter, but I'm starting to get some reactions, like people answer it, and I just want to create more of that connection. So one thing I was going to do is like use Loom to put in a video and put a little bit more personality into the newsletter, because people read it, but it might be nice to put a face to the news. However you want to say that, and just play around. And so I don't know, when this topic came up, maybe it's because I have a little excessive decision fatigue right now, but it just felt comforting to be like, okay, what if I just picked one, stuck with that for a couple of months, decades, I don't care, but just pick one and go from there. I'm about to head out to a women's conference, and I'm thinking it's going to be so much easier, instead of saying like, follow me here and there and do that and this, just be like, hey, let's connect on Facebook.
Well, and two, if you think about it, as somebody you're talking to, I can relate this also back to websites too. As somebody you're talking to, if you tell me, oh, connect with me on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you want, I'm all the places, I have decision fatigue now. I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to tell me what to do. And websites are kind of this way too. Like when you land on somebody's website, I get so many clients that are like, I want them to go to the about page. I want them to sign up for my free offer. I want them to contact me. I want them to follow me on Facebook. And I'm like, I can't do all of that just from your homepage. I don't know what to do now. Like, that's, it's same even in person. If you're all of the places and doing all of the things, then people it's just decision fatigue. And then I'm not going to make a decision, and I'm not going to engage at that point because I don't know what to do. You haven't told me what to do.
Absolutely.
Given me too many things to do.
And I want to delve into that last topic we were going to talk about. It's people pleasing. If you don't see this, it's also people pleasing in a way, because we, again, are basically saying, I help everyone. I help everywhere. I do all things. No, you don't. Like,
Can't.
let's do one or two things. Now, we also have said, though, it's important to have, we're not contradicting what we're saying here when we say it is important to have a presence in those other areas, but that presence could just be repurposing what you're doing on the one that you've chosen and repurposing that. But, you know, people pleasing, I want to just call myself out on this because I did it, I think Tuesday. And I was very complimented on Wednesday for it. So let me explain what was going on. So I have a new client that I'm going to be working with. And then I was talking to one of my inner circle people on Wednesday. And she said, you know, Ashley, I don't think it's people pleasing. I think you want to make a difference and you have an impact and a desire to make that difference. So of course, I was trying to meet the person where she was at. Now, in this instance, there was, you know, timing, budget, all the things at play, energy at play. And I was trying to help ease her pain with my expertise. But we can't do that because then I ended up making this whole new offer about, you know, monthly consulting with Voxer access. And like, I'm in a move. How the hell am I actually going to do that? Like, what have I just done? Anyways, good news. We had a great first call. She got a lot out of it. I'm following up saying like, let's use this for the next month, because if you do what I gave her, right, like it'll take time to implement and honestly outline, but then we'll go from there. But I think also when you're getting on these platforms, we can lose ourselves to the conversations that are having there. The shoulds, you should go live every day. You should post every day. You should TikTok your ass off. I still haven't done a TikTok and I don't feel bad about it. I don't, I'm not.
I'm not going to.
I'm not either. And I have to tell you I'll be vague. There's someone that I actually really admired and she was an expert in social media and she had a specific platform that everyone knew her for. And now I see her on Instagram doing the whole yada, yada, yada. And I gotta be honest, I don't consider myself a judgmental person, but I'm so judging this one. I'm like, how did they get to you? Like, how'd they hypnotize you? Like, you were our person for this. Like, what? Anyways, it's been making me like,
I mean, that's a should thing. Like,
oh my God.
I mean, that's one of those things where like everybody's saying, okay, Reels is the thing on Instagram to get traction now. So I should do it.
I know. I'm not going to. I promise you, I am not going to.
No, yeah.
Not
I mean,
interested.
I'm not either. It's not, yeah, I'm not interested in it. I'm, you know, and if I'm not interested in it, I'm not going to be good at it. I'm not going to be consistent with it. You know, like, I'm just, it's a waste of my time, to be honest.
So, as we're like having this playful banter of like, I'm not doing it. No. Remember, that's actually your branding at play too. It's your values. What does your business value? Does it value being in the most, now here's the thing. If your business values being on trend, most current, most innovative,
100%.
then you better get your butt over there. But if that's not a value that you have, that a value, you know, you've got to reset and make sure you're not just being everything to everyone. I like to say, be you for the right few, not everything for everyone. And this people pleasing, every evolution of you is going to be different, and people pleasing is going to look different at every phase. But I was laughing because like, I just really see potential in this person and I want to help. And then here I am making up new offers. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and then I gave her like such a huge chunk that now we're gonna have to go back a little and put it into play. And I was like, just watch yourself. It gets the best of us, but like, watch yourself, not people pleasing.
I mean, I would love to tell you I'm a recovering people pleaser, but I'm not.
I know. I swear, I feel very hard. Like, I'm certified cynical. I'm very serious about how I do business. I show up with certain ways, but man, like a baby that has like a soft spot on their skull or something. I have these little soft spots everywhere that if you get in, oh man, I'm just, I'll do anything. Okay. And I just, like, where does this come from? Like, what are you doing? Oh man.
Yeah.
Two of them are like watermelon and candy. Like someone shows up and you want a new like social media presence, like a family size bowl of watermelon, I will do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you talk about people pleasing and we do it with our clients,
Oh
like,
yeah.
but then we're also doing it on all of these platforms. Like we're
Yeah.
trying to people please
Being,
the audience, trying
yeah.
to be something we're not, that we don't enjoy
Yeah.
or aren't good, or just not our thing or not on brand,
It's
you
not on
know?
brand. Yeah, it is not on brand to watch this person out there on TikTok. I am like, oh, they're just so classy and they were always so they're still informed. It's still, they're a social media person, but I just am like,
It's a strategy where you look at it and go, you're trying to please the algorithm.
yeah, or
It's not,
you got bored. We talk about this, how it's boring in business, doing
it
the
is.
same thing that works, God forbid. We
Right.
get bored or we think there has to be another way or something, but like, oh my gosh, people, stick with it.
Yeah. Well, and my example is with picking a platform. So my platform is Instagram. I know you tend to be more Facebook. I tend to be much more Instagram. And my Facebook page, I share the same content on both platforms. I repurpose it, exact same words and everything. Like
Yeah.
I don't redo stuff for different platforms. It's too much damn time.
Yeah.
But I do on my Facebook page, my top post that I've pinned to the top says, I don't actually use this platform very often. I like Instagram better. If you want to interact with me, go there. And it links to my Instagram account,
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you're totally fine in telling people where you want to be, where do you want to interact?
Yeah.
And, if they're turned off by that, they're probably not your client.
Amen.
You
heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, on Mimosa Hotline.
Yeah. I mean,
it's true. I've been, this, I just gave my Instagram a little mini makeover and I think it looks beautiful. I'm not going to lie to you, but I have been thinking, I think I might archive my entire feed and do the static 9. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this, so I'm just going to explain it because I know sometimes we can go a little too technical and I don't want us to. So, static 9 is that you can really see 9 posts at once on Instagram. And static is where they're just going to be the same. Like I'm never going to build the feed. I'm not going to add to it. There's going to be 9 and they're going to be the most thought out, strategic, well-designed 9 that most likely will be like a pinned post that you just mentioned in Facebook that will say like, I've got 9 opportunities, but like say to one element or another, speak to what I do, speak to something, and also tell them, hey, like I've decided for, the next year, I want to hang out more on Facebook. If it serves me well, I'll come back, but if not, please find me there. So, also directing people and showing up so that if somebody goes to Instagram, you're there. If someone goes to LinkedIn, you're there, but where you are all the time. And it just helps people follow you. And like you said, I definitely know people that are like, I hate Facebook. I don't want to be on social media. Then great, you're not my client. Like, ciao. Ciao.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, I don't know why I'm speaking Italian in the morning. Sorry.
To each their own.
I guess so. Yeah. Today we're Italian. Who knew?
Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree with that. Like if it's not your spot, like make it so that it looks beautiful and it has information there, but then tell them what to do. People want to be told what to do. I know I do. I want to be, I mean, I want to be told what to do.
Absolutely. I think it might also be a sign of leaders. Like we have to make the decisions all day long. I think it's also a reason like I'm going to speak for myself, but like cooking is too overwhelming for me because after my day, knowing the ingredients and knowing how to get it all together, it's just like, I need someone else to take care of this. And I think maybe that's a sign. Maybe you work with leaders, maybe you don't, but if you do, and you want to high achievers especially, make it as easy as possible to find you, to connect with you, and to buy from you. Like just make it easy. Like don't make it complicated, like a Bernstein Bear book of like decide your own ending. Like you gotta.
Yeah, well, and two, like within each one of these platforms, there's like 6 platforms within it.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I think I can, like speaking about Facebook and Instagram, which are becoming very similar. They're sort of clones of each other a little bit. Thinking about Instagram, just because that's my platform. So when you post on your feed, or static post or video post on your feed, one, you're having to interrupt people's scroll, right? Like it's called interruption marketing. And so you're interrupting their scroll, but that feed is geared towards cold audience, right? That's where people
Yeah,
find
not
cold
even your
audience.
warm. Yeah, now we
They're
have to
not
do
even
the
warm.
favorite thing.
They're cold audience. And your goal there is to get them to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
Because then once they follow you, they are now a warm audience.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the warm audience in your stories.
Agreed.
So when you look at your analytics on Instagram, Facebook's analytics aren't quite as good to kind of see this, but it still works the same way strategically. When you look at your analytics and you're looking at your reach on your analytics on posts versus stories, you'll see that in your analytics of non-followers is higher on your posts and followers are higher on your stories. So you can think about it in that way as your posts are your cold audience, your stories are your warm audience. So sure, it makes sense on all of your posts to be very strategic and content heavy driven to get the follow, to get the engagement, to turn them into warm audience, where then now you're in the stories and that's where you sell from.
Mm-hmm.
Your stories are basically your email list at that point.
Yeah. And, maybe there's a strategy of that too, of overlapping. So I think people, if they don't know, one thing I would love to end on is that you do those marketing intensives. Would you explain a little bit about those? Because I think here's a great opportunity for you. And let's be honest in what we're doing here. If you give out great content like this, it's nice to have a what's next, right? Everybody's now officially being like, wow, Ronnie and Ashley, they're really talking about some good stuff here. Like, what if I just had one? Whew, that would be kind of relieving, but what one? And then she said cold audience and warm audience. And what do I do with it? So, hey, Ronnie, I heard you do these like marketing intensives, right?
Well,
tell us about that. What does that look like?
So speaking in the theme of picking one.
Yeah.
I have, even in my service offerings, picked one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only way you can work with me right now is through an intensive. And so how that looks is my philosophy is that my skill set is in strategy and my price point's pretty high. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not cheap in anything.
Yeah.
I am not cheap, but why not work with me on a VIP intensive, which we can either do over one day or depending on what our deliverable is. Sometimes I need 3 days, but it's multiple calls with me to consult. But at the end of the day, you get your marketing plan done. Like it's an actual deliverable of I strategically sit down, research your company, we talk about it, and I develop your strategic marketing plan from the executive summary down to your marketing distribution channels. The whole thing, your personas, your clients, everything. You get a deliverable.
Client avatar, I would know what platform to be on. I would have a strategy for cold and warm marketing. I may have an opportunity for paid ads, or not quite yet, but a plan for that. And then I would know how to integrate it myself, but I could also reach out to you to get, like a helpful tip on this thing.
Sure. And I mean, that whole package for me is you get your strategic marketing plan, which is a fairly static kind of document, kind of like your brand manual would be for you. Like it's a fairly static document. But then I also provide like your working marketing documents, which are a content calendar template, your KPI template. Like you can adjust them to what you want, but you're going to get my template that I use with all of my clients, and instructions on how to build that out and use it. So that my philosophy is if you're paying me to help you with strategy, then you can go hire a VA to actually just post for you for a lot cheaper than you're going to pay me to do it.
Yeah. And a lot of our people already have VAs. So this is just going to be like a VA. Maybe could the VA join in on the call too? Would you ever? Sure. Oh, that'd be fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you just sold me because now I want one. And I still know that the client that we're working with is going to have one. So now I'm just like, I want one too. But I love that. So we are definitely going to put a link to that in the description of the video for anyone that wants to move forward on that. But Ronnie, final thoughts for today? Anything else that you want to conclude with?
I mean, I think that it's very overwhelming for people. Like this is the part of business that's so overwhelming for people because they feel like they've got to do all of the things. Oh, I mean, I do it too. I mean, I don't want anybody to go out there and think that we're doing this perfectly. Like, I mean, this is a learning experience for us too. Like, but I think that we make business much harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm ready for working smarter, not harder.
yeah, I mean, and I talk about this a lot when I do podcast interviews. This is always a hot topic for people is business is really very simple. Like you have a strategy, you have the tactics that produce that strategy. The only thing you can control is your output. You can't control the input. And it's really just that simple. We make it harder because we put all this emotion into it when business is very emotionless. Like, make it easy. Like, why make it more complicated than it needs to be?
And often so second nature, like we're just talking about something that we know about, and then that creates the next client. You know, when we talk about these referral things, I mean, I've been so blessed, like,
that's where most of mine come from too, is referrals.
Yeah.
And had a conversation and a connection, and it's turned into a referral. That's a conversion.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And you're like, wow, check that out. Like, you know,
easy strategy. This is how that works.
Yeah. And if you're getting into the content, I think overflow where you're just making all this thing and it's a full-time job, you should definitely probably have a call with us because you're probably working too hard. And just be mindful of that. It is hard work to have a business, but it could be reasonably hard.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that leads me into a really good like segue into what you do as far as brand. Like, yeah, I can do intensive on marketing for you and kind of come up with strategy, but it has to be on brand.
Yeah. And that identity really, I think that's why I love working with yourself and marketers, is because to me, the best way I like to explain it is marketing is a megaphone to branding. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is if I give you a duck and a megaphone, it quacks. But if I give you a clear identity of a personified business, AKA human voice with ideas, thoughts, and concerns, it comes out like a song, you know, like you don't want to sound like a quack. No one does. And you may not even notice it, or you realize, hey, my messaging is off, or I want to be more consistent. Yeah. Double check your identity before you go straight into marketing, because well, you're not going to have this problem with Ronnie because she will definitely send you straight to me. I've seen it happen, but don't pay to be a bigger quack.
Right. When you don't know what quack you are.
You don't. Yeah. Like if you're like, I don't know, my message isn't working, so I'm going to do 10 times more posts. That's not it. You've got to take a step back and the identity of the business, you know, what do you stand for? Clarity. What do you stand for? What's your message? Are you clearly telling people where to find you, how to book with you, how to say I'm interested, how to start a conversation? Like,
weird.
But
we're so into our businesses, like we can't see past the trees to see the forest, right? So you know, that's why working with people like you and me, we see through that because we're not in your business every day.
You have to have that outside perspective. I was literally going to write, since both of us are playing with our eyebrows, let's be honest, I like the phrase of you can't see your own eyebrows. It's so true, right? Yeah. And so I was going to say the power of perspective of that other person to even say like, did we do them right?
Yeah. Or you gave me too many options. I don't know what to do to find you now.
Yeah. Like yes, I love that. So we have so many resources that we shared. Give us a moment as we allow this video to render. We're going to play it back. Ronnie gave some incredible marketing resources that a lot of brews, basically. We'll find the links for that to show with you. I said brews and not bros, right? BREWS.
Yep, okay. And that is BREW. That
circled back in my head. And I was like, wait a minute, did I?
Nope, you were right.
Okay. We also have the beautiful intensive that she offers. So we're definitely going to post a link for that. For those of you that are ready to just invest and do it right once, like I'd really encourage you to do that even before you go down the rabbit hole of, but I just bought a course. Great. Or I'm investing with so-and-so. That's good. And it would be great to have her give you a filtering system for, as you're learning all of this, what is for me, what's not for me, what's on brand, what's not on brand, what is right, TikTok or not TikTok, like just choosing that. Yeah. And then also the link to be in our hot seat. This is seriously an opportunity we want to do better at and have people on. 20 minutes, like imagine 20 minutes with both of us about before you get in with a brand strategy session or a marketing intensive session, just to have some of those preliminary questions answered. We're here for you. So again, if you joined us live, thank you for being live. If you join on the replay, please comment, say hello, ask questions. If we can't address it in the comments quickly, then maybe it's the theme for next time. So every Thursday we go live, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And we will see you all next Thursday.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.